Hey guys, this is Austin. iPhones are becoming a lot easier to pick up, so I was able to get each one of these 3 iPhones for less than $200 on prepaid carriers. But are they worth it? I did a video on this iPhone 5S last year where it cost me $150. However, today you can easily find these available for not only $129, but even as low as $99 off contract. It's the same story with the iPhone 6. While some places have it listed for $300 or even as much as $450, I was able to pick this one up for only $200. The iPhone SE is also available for cheap. So it still costs $400 unlocked straight from Apple. I was able to pick this one up for only $160. Prices are definitely going to vary depending on what sales are going on, and the big downside is that these are all going to be locked to a prepaid carrier, but I'm curious, what kind of iPhone are you getting for $200? To start with, we have the iPhone SE. Even though this is a little bit of an older design, this is actually a pretty new phone. It only came out about a year ago. What's cool with this is that it's actually not even a base model, so this guy's going to be rocking 32 gigs of storage. The unboxing experience is pretty straightforward. So not only do we have our Apple stickers and paperwork right here, there's also going to be the old school Apple earpods. We have our USB power adapter as well as a lightning cable. Put it side by side with the iPhone 5S and the SE looks very, very similar. So what you're getting here is a pretty small phone. Now to be fair, it's kind of rare to actually get a decently spec'd small phone these days, but it's small. It's definitely really small. It still feels premium though. So not only do we have the chamfered edges as well as a nice metal and glass design, but almost more importantly than that, it feels sturdy, and that's not something that you can always say about budget phones. Moving over to the iPhone 6, just like the SE, we're going to be getting a 32GB phone, which is going to make this a lot more usable. With the iPhone 6, we're getting something that's basically the same design as the current iPhone 7. So while things have been tweaked just a little bit in the last couple years, for the most part, you're really not going to be missing out on much. Arguably, there are actually some design improvements here. So not only does the iPhone 6 still have the physical home button, but it also does still have a headphone jack. You're getting some nice upgrades with a 6, most notably Apple Pay support. So this is actually something I use on pretty much a daily basis. You're also getting a much larger 4.7-inch display compared to the smaller 4-inch panel on the others. So while this is still a little bit small by most flagship standards today, it feels a lot more usable. The specs are pretty interesting. So the iPhone 5S is the oldest phone here, is rocking an Apple A7 processor with 1GB of RAM, whereas the iPhone 6 has the Apple A8, and the iPhone SE has the newest Apple A9 with a full 2GB of memory. All three feel reasonably snappy, but the 5S is starting to show its age a bit. With only 1GB of RAM, it does get a touch slow sometimes when you're doing a lot of multitasking, but it really is not bad. It's the same story with the iPhone 6. In real use, it feels almost the exact same as the 5S, and a lot of that does have to do with the fact that it also runs 1GB of RAM. On the other hand, the iPhone SE is super quick. So it has the same specs as the iPhone 6S, which absolutely puts it on par with a lot of current flagships. To put things in perspective, all 3 iPhones are going to be more powerful than a budget option like the Moto G4, but it really is the iPhone SE that takes the win here. All 3 are up to date on iOS 10, and they're all getting the iOS 11 update later this year. That's especially impressive when you look at the iPhone 5S, which came out all the way back in 2013. I've got to give big props to Apple for supporting a phone like this for 5 years. Pretty much no one else does that. The biggest issue is just the smaller screen sizes on the 5S and the SE. Now I get it, a lot of people do like a smaller phone, but as far as I'm concerned, it just feels a little bit small and cramped. To be fair, you're not really losing any functionality, everything is just a little bit smaller than usual. But if you're used to a bigger phone, these are going to be a little bit hard to get used to. When it comes to cameras, the iPhone 5S and 6 have a very similar looking 8-megapixel camera, whereas the SE bumps that up to 12 megapixels thanks to the iPhone 6S, which it basically stole all its parts from. First, we have the 5S. This is probably the best camera on a smartphone when it came out, but today, that's actually not bad. The dynamic range is not quite there, but this is a really, really difficult shot. These all look pretty nice. So I would have to give a slight edge to the SE here, but really, I would be happy with any of these phones. While smartphones have definitely advanced a lot over the last few years, what's impressive is just how decent these iPhones feel to use, even though they're 3 and even 4 years old. What's really impressive is the camera on the SE. While it's about a year old at this point, it really is only topped by flagships like the Galaxy S8 and iPhone 7. Video on the SE also looks nice. So it shoots in full 4K, and while it might not be a red, the stabilization means that it actually looks really nice. The iPhone 5S hides its age surprisingly well. For just a little bit more and less than half the price it was when it launched, I think the iPhone SE is an obvious upgrade, but only if you're down with a smaller phone. Which leaves us with the iPhone 6. While it might not be the most powerful phone in the world, I think the larger size more than makes up for that. So, would you guys pick up a $200 iPhone? And if so, which one would it be? Let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you in the next one.